polls are out, and people hate Trump. Trump is underwater in almost everything, and as Kornacki explains in this interview I'm going to show you, that Trump is underwater in his strongest category, which is the economy. Even in his first term, he was almost never underwater on the economy, but he said he was going to bring down prices on day one, and prices just keep going up for eggs, gasoline, everything else, and inflation itself. The metric for inflation is also going up. So one of the most important polls is the Quinnipiac poll. Majority say system of checks and balances not working well. Quinnipiac University national poll finds. So Quinnipiac, a very respected poll, says that less than 4 in 10 voters think the system of checks and balances between the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of the federal government is working well, while more than half of voters think it is not working well, according to a Quinnipiac University national poll of registered voters. 38% of voters think the system of checks and balances in the federal government is working either very well, 9%, or somewhat well, 29%. So only 39% or 38% think that the checks and balances are working well. And anybody who's been paying attention, it's obvious that they're not working well, because Trump is breaking the law left and right. The judiciary is ruling against him, and he's not listening to their rulings. If you forgot your civics class from high school, the way that government works is the Congress has the power of the purse, the executive has the power of the military and the enforcement, basically. So the executive, the president, enforces all the laws. They control the FBI, the CIA, basically all the police. The whole military is controlled by the executive power, but the judicial branch checks both of them. But the judicial branch has no way of enforcing its rulings. So if the executive, and this is a big flaw in our Constitution, if the executive says, tough crap, make me follow your ruling, then there's almost nothing the judiciary could do about it. And that's what they call a constitutional crisis. So we're already or almost in a constitutional crisis, because Elon Musk and Donald Trump are breaking laws or not following rules. The freeze on government spending. A federal judge said that they had to unfreeze the government spending, and they just decided not to. They said they were gonna, and they just lied, and they're not doing it. So the judicial has no way to force the president to do what it wants to do, and that's a constitutional crisis. Now, the one way to fight against this is for the people of the United States to protest, the military to hold strong, and if the military needs to not follow unlawful commands given by the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States. Like if he says, brings the military out against peaceful protesters, that's an unlawful command, and the military has the right not to follow them, because they're sworn in to follow the Constitution, not the president. So let's look at this Quinnipiac poll a little more. Among Republicans, 57% think the system is working either very well, 16%, or somewhat well, 41%, while 34% think it is working either not so well, 22%, or not well at all, 12%. Among Democrats, 14% think the system is working either very well, 1%, or somewhat well, 13%. So out of the 14% that thinks it's working well, 1% thinks it's working very well. This is of Democrats, and 13% think it's working, somewhat well, okay. While 80% think it is working either not so well, 32%, or not well at all, 48%. So basically half of Democrats think it's working not well at all. And I mean, that's obvious, because Trump and Musk are out there breaking laws, and they're not listening to the judicial rulings coming down, and they're breaking those laws too. So it's not working well. Among independents, 41% think the system is working either very well, 11%, or somewhat well, 30%. So independents are in between Republicans and Democrats, basically. In a perfect world, the three great pillars of U.S. government stand firm, functional, and aligned with the Constitution. It's clear at the moment that registered voters sense dysfunction. So this is how they feel about Elon Musk in the poll, which this is not surprising, but maybe an eye-opener. 50% of voters think Elon Musk has too much power in making decisions affecting the United States. 36% think he has about the right amount of power, and 3% think he has too little power. Among Republicans, 16% think Elon Musk has too much power, 78% think he has about the right amount of power, and 1% think he has too little power. Who's the lunatic 1% that thinks he has too little power? Among Democrats, 96% think Elon Musk has too much power, and 1% think he has about the right amount of power. And who are Democrats, the 1% that think he has the right amount of power? Among independents, 56% think Elon Musk has too much power. So basically, everybody thinks Elon Musk has too much power, except for half of the Republicans. Voters 54-42% disapprove of Elon Musk playing a prominent role in the Trump administration in Quinnipiac University January 29th poll. President Trump, 45% of voters approve of the way Donald Trump is handling his job as president, while 49% disapprove. So more disapprove than approve. That's normal for Trump, though. In Quinnipiac University January 20th poll, 46% of voters approved, while 43% disapproved. In today's poll, Republicans 90-7% approve, while Democrats 95-4% disapprove. 43% of independents approve, while 50% disapprove. So I'll do some quick math for you there. A plurality of the country disapproves of how Donald Trump is handling it. And it makes sense. I mean, eggs are $14, gas is going up. He was elected to fix the economy, not to go all Nazi on the country and fire all the federal workers. They're firing workers that are disabled veterans. Tons of the federal workers that they already fired. If you watch my last video, watch this video. If you don't know, I'll put it right here. But if you watch my last video, they're firing tons of federal workers that voted for Donald Trump. And, you know, not to diss them, but they should have done their homework. He said he was going to fire. Did they think he was going to actually do research and figure out what federal workers, it's against the law, for one, voted for Kamala Harris and which ones voted for him, and only fire the ones that voted for Kamala Harris? Are they kidding? They're talking about Donald Trump here. That's a big problem with the country, though, is 50% of the people don't know enough about Trump for some reason. He's been in the spotlight for 40 years and think he's smart and a good businessman. If you watch that video that I just mentioned, that I put up back there, you know, the guy says he worked for the IRS. He says, oh, I voted for Donald Trump. I thought he was a good businessman, and he, you know, cut out the waste, fraud, and abuse, but he'd do it surgically like a surgeon because he's such his business acumen. But he has no business acumen. He was born a half a billionaire. He was given a $500 million when he turned 21, or a little later than that, you know, to start his business. And if he would have just kept that $500 million in an annuity or even the stock market, he would have more money than he has right now. Or maybe not right now, because he's gotten all these handouts from his meme coin and Elon Musk and billionaires just handing him money because they want to be on, you know, the good side of the president because they're a bunch of pussies. Jeff Bezos and Mark Zucker, bitch, they're all pussies. They need to stand up to Trump. If you're watching Bezos, I doubt you are. You're a bald pussy. So most people agree with Trump on immigration issues. The economy, 44% approve, 48% disapprove, with 8% not offering an opinion. Foreign policy, 44% approve, 48% disapprove. Trade, 42% approve, 49% disapprove. Federal workforce, 41% approve, 49% disapprove. Russia-Ukraine war, 40% approve. So he's basically underwater on everything. And then Congress always does bad in polling. 40% of voters approve of the way the Republicans in Congress are handling their job, which is a record high, while 52% disapprove and 8% did not offer an opinion. It's a sobering slapdown of historic proportions for the Democrats in Congress. Their Republican counterparts take a victory lap as the Democrats try to get their footing. So yeah, Democrats deserve to be where they are. The whole Joe Biden fiasco, they let his old ass stay in way too long. They should have told him, somebody, his wife, whatever, should have said, you're too old to run again. You know, can't string a sentence together. I mean, Bernie Sanders is a little older and he's much more coherent, much more on the ball. He answers questions fast and tactfully, where Joe Biden's just da 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 da. And, you know, he should have got out of the race when he said he was going to. He said he was going to be a transition president in 2020, and that's on the Democrats. So they deserve where they are now. But us independents and the rest of us people who hate Trump but don't really like the Democrats don't deserve where we are now. But this is where we are. Okay, so the Gaza thing, Republicans 49-32% support the proposal to take over the Gaza Strip, while Democrats 94-1% don't support it. Independents, 66% of independents do not support America taking over the Gaza Strip. Why don't they support it? Because it's going to cost millions of dollars, and all it's going to do is make money for billionaires like Donald Trump. It's going to turn into a resort. How is that going to help America? Okay, let's move on.
Break down these numbers for us.
Yeah, Kristen, you aren't kidding. Just in the last couple of days, 5 new polls out measuring that reaction from the public. You see them right here in the headline. Polarizing a month into the second Trump presidency. You see his approval rating in 4 of these 5 polls is under 50%. In 4 of these 5 polls, his disapproval number is higher than his approval number. So by just about any historical standard, this is a low political position for a president to be in a month into his presidency, though it is worth noting that the one exception to that would be Trump himself in his first term. This, in a way, nothing new for Trump. What you're looking at here, the average of our NBC polls, the first Trump presidency, 2017 to 2021. If you averaged all those together, Trump in his first term was underwater approval rating, 44-53. His absolute best mark still never got that approval number over the disapproval number. You see as low as it got, and average everything that's out there right now together, and you can see how does where his current standings stack up, kind of in that same range. So maybe another way of looking at this, another way this was asked, Quinnipiac asked folks out there, there's a lot going on. Are you surprised by any of it? And about a quarter of voters say Trump is exceeding their expectations in his first month here. About a quarter say he is failing to meet their expectations. Most, though, say for all of the swirl of activity here, this is pretty much what they expected. Let's look at some specific issues here, some actions, proposals from Trump here. Again, from all of these different polls, what's the most unpopular? What's setting off alarm bells here? You can see that call to end birthright citizenship, only 39% support there. Firing federal workers. This question asked about potentially firing.
That surprised me a little, the call to end birthright citizenship. I mean, I'm 100% for it, of course. It's, part of the way our country was built. It's part of the reason that we have such a great country and economy is that we encourage people to move here, have kids, their kids grow up, in a very opportunistic economy, and then they become scientists and computer experts or whatever, and they move up from the last generation of their family who may have been, a poor family from India or wherever, Europe, South America, and then, they're able to send money back, bring relatives to the country. I mean, it's what made America great. So I'm not surprised that ending birthright citizenship is unpopular, but I'm a little surprised that, so many people recognize it, I guess, because so many people in the country are just woefully uninformed about things, and they just take the first ignorant racist view on something, like, oh, I don't want people being, coming here and having kids and then becoming citizens and collecting Social Security and benefits. That's what everybody thinks. But anyway, let's keep going.
Hundreds of thousands, 51% oppositions. Look at this. This is the single least popular thing Trump has done in the second term, pardoning January 6th offenders, including violent offenders, more than 80% of.
And that also surprised me a little. I'm glad. I mean, I'm totally against him pardoning those thugs, and I'm glad that people recognize that.
On the flip side, he's done some things, proposed some things that are popular. That executive order to expand oil and gas production, the executive order recognizing two sexes. And also, when you look at immigration, there's all sorts of different ways to ask about it. But the CBS poll here had asked the general Trump administration program to deport immigrants who are here illegally. You see broad support there when it's asked at the broad level like that. Look at the personalities now, the public faces of this administration, not just the president, the vice president, and of course, you were just talking about Elon Musk. What you're measuring here is just basic popularity. Do you have a favorable, unfavorable view of these people? Again, that Trump number looks just like his approval rating does. You can see Vance, it's about evenly split with Musk. It is now 50% unfavorable. And then when you ask folks just about that job that Musk has taken inside the government here, trying to make cuts here, and again, you can see 49% disapproval, only a third approving. We say a lot of similarities politically to Trump's first term in the polls. Here's a difference. Remember, Trump's political strength in his first term was the economy. Again,
and this is the big thing. He's losing on the economy, and it's all about the economy, stupid. Economy, economy, economy. If you don't have the economy, you're going to lose. So come on, midterms.
Averaging all our polls from the first Trump presidency together, nearly 50% across those 4 years were saying they approved of how Trump handled the economy. We know how politically potent that issue is. He campaigned on it last year, but attitudes towards the economy have not improved so far. And now it's nearly 50% who disapprove of how Trump's handling the economy. Now, this is early, obviously, in his presidency, but we know the potency of the economy politically, and these numbers right here may loom right now, Kristen, as the biggest single immediate political challenge for Donald Trump and for the Republican Party.
Okay, guys, there you have it. Trump is underwater on all the polls. The polls are dropping fast. So's the stock market. So's the crypto market. And hopefully we get him out of office. See you tomorrow.